live. What's up, what's up, what's up, everybody? We're going to talk some immigration today. We're here in our Orlando studios, as usual, with the lovely team from AMP. We have Miss Hannah and Miss Emmeline, and we will be talking a little bit of immigration today. I want to give a big shout out to all the people who joined us in New York for our immigration summit and who joined us in Kingston, Jamaica for our immigration summit. We had some really good turnouts, and we will have another immigration summit, somewhat of a summit, coming up in Colombia and Panama City Beach. Just wanted to give everybody a big shout out. Thank you for the support. And as you know, our goal is always to create more access, to create more resources for people to get the right information as to what immigration is concerned. Big shout out to my people on TikTok. As you know, I love providing you with immigration, love providing you with access, and big shout out to my YouTube people. I see the Jamaican flags, enough big ups. Definitely been something that I'm extremely passionate about, is just sharing immigration with people and providing people with good results. Like today was a really good day for me. It was my first time in a while that I was able to go to the immigration court. Normally, I would have one of the attorneys from the team go to court with the clients and we get good results. But today, this client was very adamant that I came to her court hearing today. So I went, and the Orlando Immigration Court is now walking distance from my office, which is great. So it was a master hearing. So typically what a master hearing is when you are put into removal proceedings, right? So you're put into removal proceedings, and the master hearing is when you tell the court, when you tell the judge that, hey, this is my relief from deportation. This is the immigration benefit that I'm seeking or in the process of seeking, so do not deport me, right? So typically they will ask you in a removal hearing, so this is in immigration court, they're telling you, okay, these are the allegations against you. You enter the country on this date, this is where you are from, and you overstayed your visa, so you are now deportable. And it's now our job to tell them, yes, we admit to those allegations. However, we have a pending adjustment of status, or we have a pending asylum, or we have a pending VAWA. So that should keep us out of a deportation order. So today, our client, we had a pending I-130. So as you know, an I-130 is a petition for alien relative, right? So the I-130 is filed when you either get married to a United States citizen, or you have a parent filing for you, or you're a child filing for a parent. So we had a pending I-130, right, from a U.S. citizen spouse. However, there is something called prosecutorial discretion. It's called a PD. So if you are in removal proceedings and you don't have any major criminal infractions, you are now seen as a low risk for the Department of Homeland Security to pursue. So we can actually ask the immigration court and say, hey, court, please stop this removal proceedings against this person. Let's send the case back to USCIS so that the adjustment of status can be processed. Typically, you have to have an approved I-130, but my team and I, we decided that, hey, there's a pending I-130, so we're going to file this PD anyways. And we said, hey, you know what, let's take a shot. Let's see if the judge and the government, if they're in a good mood. And we did it today. And the judge and the government attorney was like, hey, you know what? Let's just terminate these removal proceedings against this person and send them back to USCIS. And oh my God, that was a better result than that we could have ever asked for. I mean, myself, after shooting that shot, I really didn't expect to make it, but you will miss 0% of the shots that you don't take. right? So we filed that motion, and our client is now out of removal proceedings, right? So that means she's no longer at a near risk for deportation. So now her case can just go to USCIS. So that's the work that we love to do. The client was crying. She was so happy. I was like, man, you prayed this morning, right? And she said, 100% definitely prayed this morning. So those are the things that like give me goosebumps, you know, seeing the clients see the daylight. And I really enjoyed that. It's a client in Panama City Beach. And the funny thing, she told me that, you know, when she started the journey, people were telling her, don't retain, people in Panama City were saying, yeah, don't retain that law firm. And I was like, really? And she's like, yeah, but she said it's the best decision that she has ever made. And, you know, those are the things we like to hear. I love to see people getting some type of resolve with their immigration situation, because it seems like to me you have more liars out there, more Google liars and more keyboard liars than you have actual liars out there. So much respect to the people who take the chance. You know, as I've told people over and over, one of the number one things that I built this law firm, and we've grown to 20 plus employees, all immigrants, everybody has been through the process, or they've had a immediate family member that has been through the process, which is necessary when representing people, right? And that's the big difference between me, my firm, and a lot of the other firms out there, is that we know the struggle that you're going through. You know, we're all people. So just wanted to share that. It was really exciting news, and it was exciting for me to be back in the Orlando immigration court, seeing some new judges, you know, making them know my face. And it was great. And then of course getting a good result. And then the court is actually walking distance from us. So anyways, let's jump into a Q&A. Today's your day. If you have immigration questions, drop it. Let's jump into it. Rapid fire. All right, TikTok, what do we have?
We have a lot of people congratulating you because of your success today.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying, when are you coming to Jamaica soon?
Yes, we will definitely be coming back to Jamaica in around 4 to 5 weeks. Sometime in November, we'll be there, pedal to the metal, full press. So secure your consultations from now. You know, it's been such an honor to be able to go back to Jamaica, to work in Jamaica, to help people get closer to their visions, to help people execute certain things. Because at the end of the day, not everybody has a case, but I love when I'm able to provide strategies, right? There are even people who come with non-immigration issues that just want to start a business, and I'm able to educate them on that journey, what having a business, setting up a business in the US is like, and that's just been phenomenal. You know, as a youth growing up in Washington Gardens, I always saw myself here, right? So being able to do this has been a lifelong dream, and I'll continue to do it for as long as the Lord tells me I should be doing it.
My son has to wait 90 days before I can file for him, being that he came on a B1, B2 visa.
Yeah, so the first question is surrounding the 90-day rule, right? I'm guessing someone wants a petition for their son. They just entered the country and they have to wait 90 days for a petition. Yes, that is the 90-day rule. You cannot file any type of change of status petition in the first 90 days of you entering the country. It goes for if you're petitioning for your child, if you got married. Once you enter, so say you enter January 1st, of course you can get married January 2nd, but you cannot file that adjustment of status until 90 days from January 1st, which is the end of March.
We need you in Queens, New York.
I was just in Queens, New York. Somebody said we need you in Queens, New York. I was just in Queens, New York. We'll be back there this month. So you will definitely know when we're back. I love that city. I was saying to my barber today that New York is just this phenomenal city, man. And I love, when I go to New York to the office, I like staying in different parts of New York just to feel the energy, just to feel the culture. And New York is a whole different beast. The last time I went last week, I stayed in Harlem. It was a whole different energy from staying in Manhattan, from staying in Queens. But it's New York, you know. I love the people, I love the culture, I love the vibe, you know. One good thing about being born and raised in Jamaica is that you can go through any crowd. You can go in the ghetto and feel comfortable, or you can go top level of the penthouse and feel comfortable. So that's one of the benefits of being Jamaican.
What's going to happen to those who seek asylum when Trump comes back?
All right. So the person asked, what is going to happen to those people who seek asylum when Trump comes into power? Well, I mean, we don't know. You know, Trump said in his first 100 days he wants to deport a lot of people who have removal orders, right? So that's, I mean, it sounds very intentional, but it sounds very vague. So in terms of asylum seekers, the asylum laws have changed so much, right? As you know, asylum, in order to file an asylum claim, one, you have to file it within 1 year of being in the country, right? Two, you have to have some type of fear of returning to your home country because you have received threats or you have been harmed physically because you belong to a certain class of people. So asylum defines the class of people as you are being attacked or oppressed or persecuted because of your race, religion, national origin, or you belong to a certain social group, such as if you are gay or lesbian, homosexual or bisexual or lesbian, or you belong to a certain social group. So within asylum, if you are a victim of domestic violence, that is something that can be looked into as well, right? There are specific guidelines for that, but that is also necessary. However, the asylum laws, they have changed. Like, first, the laws were changed in that you have to spend a certain amount of time in another country before you can file it in the US. Recently, Biden changed it, right, where you have to stay in Mexico or the country that you spend some time in. So the laws have been evolving and changing nonstop. To what Trump will do, I definitely think that Trump will make significant changes to asylum because, as you know, the border has been out of control. There isn't anything concrete. There hasn't been any strong enough laws or legislator that secures the border. So I do foresee whichever government, Trump or Harris, comes in, that there will be significant changes to asylum and the process in which you file asylum, but I don't think they will be done with asylum.
How long after you receive your 10 years green card can you file for citizenship?
So after you receive your 10 years green card, right, you can apply for citizenship within after 5 years of getting your 10-year green card. That's typically the time. The only time is different is if you received your 10-year green card through marriage and you're still with that person, living with that person and having a bona fide marriage, then you can file 3 years from the date of receiving the green card. You can file for citizenship.
How can I move from H-2B visa to possible being granted one of the entertainment visas?
So how can you transition from an H-2B visa to an entertainment visa? So typically the entertainment visas could be O1, P1, EB1, right? You'd have to do a change of status. But you have to make sure that you're staying in legal process and you are eligible for whichever entertainment visa that you're trying to find.
Do you assist with J1 waiver? I am a teacher on a J1 program in my second year.
J1 waivers, they are something else, right? They are what we decided in the firm as of late, right? Because there are different ways in which you can get a J1 waiver. You can do it type of letter, right? So we've tried a lot of hardship J1 waivers, and it seems to be very difficult to prove within that office. We believe that the supervisors there or the internal employees, based on responses that we've been getting, they're not fully versed on the hardship part of it. So we definitely recommend always doing the no contest, and yes, we can do the no contest J1 waivers.
Is it better for me and my fiance to get married here in the States or in Jamaica? I am a US citizen.
Yeah, I mean, I always recommend that if you are here already and you have everything set up, well, you can definitely, I would definitely recommend adjusting the status while you're here. It's much faster, and you're not locked into getting an interview at the embassy.
If I married a military person, what benefits do I have?
So the question is, if I got married to a military personnel, what benefits do I have? So if you marry a military personnel, right, the only benefit that you have is one, if you had an illegal or uninspected entry, meaning you crossed the border or you came into the country undetected, right? If you marry a military personnel, you can adjust your status in the country without leaving to go back to your home country, right? It's called parole in place. Whereas typically, if you cross the border and you have an uninspected entry or an illegal entry, and you marry a United States citizen, you cannot adjust your status without having a legal entry. So a lot of times you'll be required to leave the country and come back in and get that legal entry after filing a waiver. So when you marry a military personnel, that's one benefit. And two, you get military benefits such as discount on housing, a good healthcare package, and discounts at Arby's or McDonald's.
How can I speak to you directly?
So there's no speaking to me directly. You have to go through the office. You have to call and make a consultation and get put into my calendar. So this is one thing I want to explain to my people. Oh my God, I love giving good information. I love doing consultations to hear people. But again, it's not a one-man show, right? We have 4 offices: Jamaica, Orlando, New York, Panama City Beach. We just did Colombia. So, we manage a lot of clients. We manage a lot of files. So the best way is to call, schedule a consultation. Unfortunately, sometimes you cannot call the same day and get a consultation in that day or the next day, because we service a lot of people and we try to provide good results to a lot of people. So there's no direct contact. You can go through the office, schedule, and I can have the designated time allotted for you.
Can I get my visa back if my visa is canceled because of misrepresentation?
All right, awesome. So we have a great question. The question is, can I get my visa back, my B1, B2 visa, my visitor's visa, if it was canceled because there was a misrepresentation? Misrepresentation meaning you either lied on your visa application about your marital status, your criminal status, the amount of money you make, and yes, you can get back that visa, right? However, there needs to be a waiver that is filed. It's called a Haranka waiver, a 212D3 waiver, where we have to prove that you are a low-risk person, you have good intent in returning to the U.S., and you're going to be beneficial to the U.S. economy in some way, and you have an intention to return to your home country. So we've been doing a lot of those waivers out from the Caribbean and from South America. It is discretionary in terms of the way how they approve it, so we never guarantee an approval. But once we put together a good case, it definitely puts the person in a favorable position.
How easy is it to obtain the EB2 visa?
So a lot of people ask, how easy is it to obtain a visa, right? No visa is easy to obtain. Every visa, you can obtain a visa based on eligibility. So the EB2, and it's an EB2 NIW, that's it?
EB2.
Okay, so an EB2 visa, in order to obtain an EB2 visa, you have to have an employer that is willing to petition for you, and that employer has to have a job offer for you. So there are 2 steps to the EB2 petition. The first step is getting a labor certification through the state that you reside in, and we have to show that that a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident has not, cannot fill that job. Once we get the label certification, then we're able to file a petition, an I-140 to USCIS, and it leads to a green card. So it's not easy. It's a 18-month to 3-year process, depending on the state that you are in. It's definitely worth it, but it's never easy. It's just based on, are you eligible?
Can you change a child petition from consular processing to AOS still in legal status?
You can definitely 100% change a child status from consular processing to AOS. It's just a matter of changing where the I-130 was filed, right? So consular processing means that you are outside of the US. The person is currently not in the US and they filed the petition for alien relative, but for some reason after it was filed, you are now in the US. So we would have to change, right, where that I-130 is processed and for the remainder of the process. All right, let me switch to Instagram for one moment. Let me answer some of these questions that are here. All right. Hi, my brother just received his green card. How soon can he file for his children, and what and is there an age limit before they become too old for him to do the filing? So congrats on the brother for just receiving his green card. If he wants a petition for his children, definitely want to try to do it before they're 18 years old. It's a much simpler process, but the deadline before it goes into a more extended process is 21 years old. That is typically the cutoff. When am I coming to PCB? So I will be in PCB, God's willing, November 17th. It's 17th?
13 or 17?
No, November 13th.
13.
I'll be in Panama City Beach, November 13th, at doing office consultations all day, and then at night we will be in Jay's Kitchen doing a live podcast and a question and answer. So Panama City Beach, you will definitely see some stuff coming out. So put a pin in that. All right. So the question is, I thought when you married a USA born citizen, you can file for citizenship after 3 years and after 5 years when you married a naturalized citizen. Okay, so that's a myth. So someone is saying that you can only file for citizenship at 3 years or 5 years, depending if the person is a naturalized, meaning they weren't born in the US, or it's based on if the person was born in the US. That is false, right? If you have your green card, if you were given a green card, right, legal permanent resident status, and you've had it for 5 years, it doesn't matter if the person you married is a US citizen, or if the person that you married was not born here. It's 5 years, right? However, sorry, I lost my train of thought there, but the key to remember, right, is if you receive your green card through marriage, and at the 3-year mark of you getting your green card, right, at the 3-year mark, if you are still married, living and in a bona fide marriage with that person, you can file for your citizenship at the 3-year mark. If you got married and you're no longer together with that person, right, and you have your conditional green card, or you got your 10-year green card, you cannot apply for it until 5 years. Yes, Miss Lataria, big up. All right, looking for another question here. All right, after 31 months in the US on an H-2B visa and being outside the US for 2 months, can you still apply for the H-2B visa before or after the 90 days? I don't understand the wording of that question. So the person is asking, you're in the USA for 31 months, right? So that is a little bit over 2 years. And you have an H-2B. Mind you, with the H-2B, the max you can have an H-2B for with all the extensions is 3 years, right? And then he's saying that you are now outside of the US for 2 months. Can you still apply for the H-2B visa before? So he said, so if you leave the country for 2 months, you already had your H-2B for 31 months. I mean, again, you can't, the max extensions that you can get on your H-2B is up to 3 years. So you can do the maths on that. So it doesn't matter how long you're outside of the country for. So this person says, I have a master's. Do I qualify for the H-2B? Well, I have a master's. Do I qualify for the EB2 NIW under the advanced degree category? There is a possibility that you may qualify for the EB2 NIW. You know, a master's degree is definitely one of the criteria that they look for, but we definitely need to have more information. So the EB2 NIW, it is a great visa. It means EB2 National Interest Waiver. So basically what they look for is they look for that you have an advanced degree, or you have or you have a bachelor's but have 5 years of progressive or continuous employment in that field. But you also have to show that you are one of the best people for that job. You are pursuing some type of initiative, some type of niche that will be beneficial to the US economy, right? Or you started some type of business or consultancy that will provide jobs and that will have an impact on the US economy or the US on a whole. So it will definitely require some type of evaluation. Yes, teachers get approved, entrepreneurs, professors, medical personnel, engineers, definitely. So the EB2 NIW is a great way to get a green card without having to marry somebody, without having to have a job offer, or without having to have a labor certification. So you definitely want to get screened for that to see if you are eligible. All right, so my father migrated to the US. How soon can he file for his married daughter and family? So if he migrated to the US, and I'm assuming that he's migrating as a green card holder, I mean, he can petition, but for someone that is over 21 and married, just know that that wait time is going to be over 7 years. Will it be more difficult to get a visitor's visa after overstaying on a J1 but voluntary return? So the person is asking, if I overstayed on a J1 visa and you left on your own, like, so say for instance, your J1 visa expired January 1st, 2024, and you are leaving in March, or you're leaving now, 100% yes, it will be difficult to get another visa without filing a waiver. Any visa that you overstay, any temporary visa that you overstay, and you return on your own, it's going to be challenging, right? It's not impossible, but it's going to be challenging to get a visitor's visa. All right, let's see what's going on YouTube.
Okay, we have one question. It says, I met my wife in December 2023, got married in July 2024. When should I apply for my green card application? I have been here since March 2022 on a B1, B2 visitor's visa.
Okay, so this person entered the US in 2022 on a B1, B2 visa and got married to a US citizen in 2023. And they're asking, when is the best time to start your adjustment of status process, I say the day that you get your marriage certificate in hand, that you are now legally married, is the best time, right? So you don't have to wait, right? You don't have to wait because, again, he entered almost a year before he got married. He's been here for 2 years, so he can petition the day he gets the marriage certificate. It's not like he entered January 1st, got married January 2nd, and wants to petition in February. So the 90-day rule does not apply to this person.
Okay, we have one more. Good evening. I'm a social worker. Would the EB2 visa be applicable to me?
All right, so good evening, Miss Social Worker. So you're asking if the EB2 visa would be applicable to you, or would you be eligible for an EB2 visa as long as your employer is willing to petition for you. And a social worker means that you work for the state, you work for the government. There are government jobs that do petition for their employees, but that is one of the requirements. You have to have a petition from your employer in order to be eligible for the EB2.
Okay.
All right, let's circle back to TikTok. How much people we have on there now?
193.
193 people.
Yes.
All right, let's go.
How long after you get denied for US visa you can reapply for the visa?
So the person is asking, how long after applying for a visitor's visa and you got denied, right? How much time should you wait? So my response would be, there isn't really a wait time, right? But have you changed anything since you got denied, right? That's what you really have to look on. Have you gotten a different type of job? Do you have more money in your bank account? Are you able to show that you have a good character? Those are the things that you really have to evaluate. You have to find out why you got denied, right? Try to think about the reason why you got denied and try to make some adjustments. So there isn't any right time. I mean, by rule of thumb, you want to wait at least 3 to 6 months.
What's the process of marriage with a green card holder?
So the process for marriage with a green card holder, and this is a question that a lot of people always run me down on. If you are in the United States and you are in status, meaning like you're on a student visa, H-2B visa, you can marry a green card holder, and once a visa becomes current, you can do the adjustment of status, no problem. However, if you are out of status in the US and you marry a green card holder, in order for that person to petition for you and you are out of status, that person has to be a United States citizen by the time of the interview, right? I can definitely write that check. You cannot go to the interview for your green card, right? And you marry a green card holder and you are out of status and that case gets approved. You cannot, right? So that person, by the time of the interview, has to be a United States citizen.
Came up on a J1 and never went back to Jamaica. How can I get my papers being here from 2021?
So if you entered on a J1 visa and you're trying to figure out how you can change your status and go back in status, how can you fix that? The first thing that you need to do is you need to look to see if your J1 has that 212 2-year home requirement. That's the first thing you need to do. And then 2, since you're out of status, usually, right, a lot of options are off the table when you're out of status, unfortunately, right? So typically that would mean you can only change your status if you have a US citizen child that's 21 years or older, or if you get married to a United States citizen, or an S or a T visa, right? Or a U visa.
9 years now on file. How many more years to go?
I could not answer that question. So the person saying they have been petitioned for 9 years, and how much years left to go? It depends, right? It depends. Was it a sibling that filed for you? Was it a parent? So it really depends. It really depends.
What proof do I need to send in to show my merit is real?
So this is a great question. So the person's asked, what proof do I need to show USCIS to prove that I am in a bona fide marriage? Right? So I mean, they are the easy ones. You have to show that you are sharing a life together, such as lease, credit cards together, bank account together, pictures at events together. But every situation is unique, right? Every situation is unique. But you really want to show that you are in a relationship. You're doing relationship things that married couples do, right? You're doing either investments together, you are taking trips together, you are celebrating holidays together. That's what immigration wants to see. They want to see that you are sharing a life together.
I missed my 1 year asylum filing deadline. What can I do?
So the person said, oh my God, I missed my filing for my 1 year asylum. So as you know, to file for asylum, you have to do it within 1 year of you entering the country. So if you enter January 1st, 2024, you have to file your asylum before January 1st, 2025. If you missed that deadline, there are a few exceptions. I mean, it can be medical reasons. It has to be something that you can corroborate to show that this is the reason why I missed that filing deadline. That's something that requires a consultation.
What is the waiting process time for a VAWA? I have already gone for 30 months.
Yeah, so the person's asking, what's the waiting process for a VAWA? As you know, a VAWA is something that you file if you have been abused by a U.S. citizen spouse, U.S. citizen child, or a U.S. citizen parent, and you have good moral character. Typically, it's 36 months to get the VAWA, like the actual green card, in hand, typically. However, you should have got your work permit and your travel document at some point before that, within the first year.
What happened if I never went to school on my F1? Can I marry a citizen for a green card?
So the person is asking, I entered on an F1 visa, but I did not go to school. The answer is yes. If you did not go to school, that means your F1 visa has now expired. Can you marry a United States citizen and adjust your status? Absolutely, you can, because the key is you enter the country legally, right? So even though now you're out of status, yes, you can get married to a United States citizen.
If I file a joint tax with my spouse, do I need to file out an I-86-4A?
Okay. All right. So everybody who is going to file any type of adjustment of status, this is one of the most common mistakes that I see a lot of people who use document preparers, or you try to file your adjustment status on your own. So this is a gem that I'm giving to people who are trying to do it yourself and save some money and not pay the lawyer. When you're doing an adjustment of status and you do the I-864, right? The I-864 is the affidavit, right? That typically you have to show tax returns, pay stubs, etc. The person who is a petitioner, so say it's your spouse, the person who is a petitioner, that spouse has to do an I-864, right? If that person does not qualify, right, if they don't meet the income requirements to say that they can financially support you, then you will need a joint sponsor. And that joint sponsor has to do their I-864 as well. But regardless if that person qualifies to sponsor you or not, they have to file one. So even if you need a joint sponsor, that petitioner must file one.
Do you have to submit medical with VAWA?
Yes. Any green card application, you have to submit a medical. Person asks, do you have to submit a medical with a VAWA application? And the answer is yes. Any green card application requires you to do a medical.
What if you have an H-2B work visa and you have a child in the US? Can you get a visiting visa?
So the person is asking, if you're on an H-2B visa in the US and you have a child, can you get a visiting visa? And the answer would be, just based on that circumstance, no. You're still going to have to go through the application process, and they're going to determine your eligibility for a visitor's visa and make their decision by that.
What if someone came to this country in a different name? Can this person never get a green card?
So the person is asking, if you enter the US in somebody else's name, which is very common, like you came on somebody else's passport, somebody else's visa, not something I condone, but if you do it, yes, you can still get a visa. I mean, you can still get a green card, definitely, but you will have to file a waiver because that makes you inadmissible. It shows that you didn't really have a lawful entry, so you will have to file a 601 waiver, and there are different types of 601 waivers, so that's definitely something that needs some type of a consultation.
When you get your work permit and you see advanced parole on it, can you travel on it?
Yes, so if you file some type of petition or application and you applied for your work visa and the I-131 travel parole, sometimes they do a combination card where your work permit and your I-131 travel parole is on the same card. Yes, you can leave the country, and that is your legal authorization to be admitted back into the United States. All right, let me switch to Instagram for a little bit. Can someone on probation and they have a misdemeanor charge file for their spouse? So if you have a petitioner that is your spouse, your husband or wife, and they want to petition for you, and they have a misdemeanor or you're on probation, they can 100% file for you. However, the only exception, the only time a US citizen cannot file for you is if they have committed a crime against a child. It's called the Adam Walsh Act. That is the only crime that will prevent or preclude a US citizen from filing for you, right? If they have some type of crime that involves violence against a child. So the person is asking, how do foreign companies get a labor certification? Foreign companies cannot get a labor certification because the labor certification is done through the Department of Labor in the state of which the company was formed. For the consular processing to AOS, does that apply even if the parent is an LPR? So, I mean, that's a confusing question because, so the difference between a consular process case and an adjustment of status case, an adjustment of status is if the person is in the US trying to change the status. Consular processing is if the person is outside of the US trying to enter on a petition that was filed by somebody within the US. And let me find another question here. I'm on a B1, B2 visa. Is it possible to be enrolled in a community college? So, if you're on a B1, B2 visa, I mean, there are some community colleges that will allow you to do that. You know, not all of them, because typically, to be enrolled in a community college, you would have to get an F1 student visa. That means the school would have to issue you an I-120. However, just like high schools, there are some community colleges that would allow you to enroll and be admitted regardless of your status. All right, I entered Canadian citizens. I entered as a Canadian citizen and stayed in the States collectively for 10 months. I tried to re-enter and was sent back. Okay, so if you are a Canadian citizen, right, and you stayed beyond the 6 months in which you were allowed, right? So it doesn't matter which country you're from. Typically, the max amount of time that you are given to enter the country as a visitor, as a tourist with an intention to return, the max is typically 6 months, is usually 6 months. If you overstay that 6 months, regardless of which passport you have, when you try to re-enter, you will be refused entry because you overstayed. You overstayed it the last time you were here. So the next time you try to enter, you will not be allowed to enter unless some type of waiver was filed and approved. I live in the US, but my spouse live in another country for school. Can she still file for me? So if you are in the US and you got married to a United States citizen, but then now they're in another country, can they petition for you? Yes, they can still petition for you. However, you are still going to have to prove that you are in a bona fide marriage, and that person will still have to show up to that interview. All right, let's switch to TikTok for a little bit.
Can I appeal my work permit denial? My asylum case is still in front of the court pending.
You can definitely still appeal any denial with immigration. I mean, but definitely the I-765 work permit, you would need to find out why it was denied. A lot of times it's the wrong category or improper filled out form. Something went wrong, so you have to find out why it was denied first before you appeal it.
How long does it take to change a visa interview location for an F-24 category?
Yeah, that varies. The person is asking how long does it take to change a visa category? It varies. You have to go, it's a case by case and location based.
Do I need to upload proof of relationship like pictures with the I-130 application?
Yeah, so this is one big mistake that I see people who they try to do their I-130s on their own, or they have a document preparer, is that they file a bare bones I-130 petition for alien relative without any evidence showing that you're in a legitimate marriage. You 100% have to send in, and it is the practice within my firm that you submit all your best evidence from the first time that you're submitting it.
My visa was revoked in 2016 and now married to US citizen. Can he petition for me without a problem?
So if your visa was revoked and then you are now doing you are now receiving a petition from a United States citizen, right? You can definitely file that petition again, but you will have to address that revocation, and typically you will have to file a waiver along with the petition.
Can you get a copy of citizenship without paying $550?
So the person is asking, can you get a copy of your naturalization N400 or N600 without paying for it? No. By the way, I must say, in the 10 years that I've been in immigration and doing immigration and having the firm and growing to thousands, last month was the first time out of probably over 1,000 cases that a client got a refund on their filing fees. It's one of 1,000. I couldn't believe it. I think the office needs to frame it of a client getting a refund from immigration. I was flabbergasted. Immigration usually does not give refunds. So yes, they're going to collect all their fees.
There's another question, the same that you answered before, about the I-86A 4A document. File tax jointly with my spouse, but she makes enough to petition for me. What should I do?
Yeah, so I mean, if you file taxes with your spouse and she's a US citizen or LPR and she makes enough, yeah, I mean, if she makes enough and is above the poverty line, which is the guidelines used by USCIS, then you don't have to get a joint sponsor.
What is your advice for the undocumented coming this election?
So here's a really good question. What is my advice for the people who are undocumented for this election? So I've been trying to talk about this a lot. So you have the Democratic Party and you have the Republican Party. We don't know who will win. But I know if Mr. Trump gets in, which is a Republican Party, he said in his first 100 days he wants to deport millions of people. So if you are undocumented, right, you need to do a consultation with some immigration attorney, it doesn't have to be me, to find out how can you now get documented, because the laws will change, there will be more enforcement, there will be mass deportation. If the Democratic Party comes in, I'm sure there are going to be immigration changes. I'm sure there are going to be strict. I'm sure there are going to be different rules and procedures. But spend the $100, $200, $300, $400 and do a consultation with an immigration attorney to figure out what are your options, right? It's better you spend that money and figure out what your options are and come up with a strategy instead of just waiting to see what happens. The amount of clients that have called me from Chrome right before they're getting deported, and they actually had an option, and I said, yo, why are you calling now when it's, you know, I'm going to have to make blood out of stone to try to save you, when you could have called a year ago. So do the right thing, especially now it's October, right? You're a month away from the election. Do something about it, please. Come on, people. Get the head out of the sand. Take control of your destiny. Be intentional. And call an immigration attorney. Again, it don't have to be me. But if it's me, it's 407-295-2138 or go to clarklawgroup.com. Schedule a consultation. You'll either talk to me or one of my more than capable attorneys or immigration specialists.
What's your advice for anyone who came across the border?
So if you came across the border, right, and you're fleeing persecution, you have fear returning to your home country, file that asylum. File that asylum, definitely. All right, so we're wrapping up. One thing I wanted to share with people, which I'm going to make a video about, it's an underutilized visa. It's called the T visa, right? So the T visa is for people who, if you are undocumented, right? And listen up, if you are undocumented and you are working under dangerous conditions, or you're working under conditions where you are severely underpaid and your employer is using your immigration status against you, like if he's saying, hey, if you leave this work, I'm going to call immigration on you, right? Or if they're paying you significantly under minimum wage, right? And they're using fear and they're using scare tactics to keep you there. You have, and you may be eligible for a T visa, and the T visa does lead to a green card. So look out for videos to come. Look up T visas. It's a good one, all right? So thank you everybody for joining. We'll be doing another live next week. Big up on yourself, much love, and just be the better version of yourself. Be the greatest version of you. It's the best month of the year, October. Let's go.